Hi, Fariha. Good
Hi,
afternoon for me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. How's everything with you?
Yeah, it's going great. So I'm currently on vacation, so I think you can never be in a good mood if that's happening.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
good stuff.
So cool. So where are you based?
So I am from Canada. I'm actually a first-gen immigrant here. My family is originally from the Middle East, so
Mm-hmm.
mixed between like Bangladeshi and Egyptian. And we moved here obviously when I was really little, and I grew up my entire life in Canada. So pretty much lived the across the the entire country, like east to west. So grew up in
Mm-hmm.
Montreal. Right now I'm in Winnipeg. So yeah, been through it all.
Very interesting. Sounds like a great place to live and to grow up. I've been in Canada not too long ago, and I don't know what's your experience, but I think Canadians would were like the nicest people in the world.
Yeah,
If you would agree.
well, I feel like our neighbor to the states. There's so much news coming out of there, and then Canada is like, we're the nice neighbor, so I'm all for that.
Mhm.
At least the people I've met in my own country have been pretty sweet, so I'll go with that. We're pretty nice here.
Cool. So I was longing to talk to you for so long. Like I think you have a lot of inputs that can help a lot of people. And I think you try to share that in social media and with everything that you do. And I think there's like three major things I would like to talk to you about. So and we go and develop on this. So basically anything about career. So how to get your dream job, how to develop your career, but
Mm-hmm.
also the very important topic of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So how to manage everything, how not to burn out, and how to keep like focus on your goals to and be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think like your posts are very raw and very authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we need more on that, not only on social media but also with real people. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm super keen to know about your experience. So tell me, like you say, you love all things STEM. You're working in sustainability. You worked in tech. You founded a career coaching firm. So tell me about you.
Yeah, yeah. It's been an intense journey, I would say, really kind of catalyzed at the beginning of the pandemic. So my background is STEM. I'm a mechanical engineer and I've worked in aerospace. I currently work in sustainable technology. And I think the whole thing with career development and personal professional evolution, it really catalyzed at the beginning of the pandemic because I actually went through a really big change in my life. And I was super into aerospace because my dad's actually ex-Air Force, so it was
Mhm,
kind of like this passion of mine growing up. And I started in the aerospace industry, worked as an aerospace engineer. It was super fun. I wanted to pursue it. I actually got accepted into my master's program, and literally 2 weeks before it was supposed to start, the pandemic hit Canada, and just my entire plan was ruined. Like 2 years of my life just kind of completely gone because I was gonna move out, but then it was like, okay,
mhm,
campus is closed. So I was like, okay, I guess I could do it online, but I did it for maybe 5 days and I was totally miserable. Like it was awful. So I ended up actually dropping out of my program, and it was something I was so
mhm,
passionate about that it was a very hard decision for me to take. But I realized that I actually have to do what makes me the happiest. I think that decision is what kind of catalyzed this journey of like professional and personal development, because that's when
mhm,
I started really creating content on LinkedIn, and it almost acted like my journal in a way. Like I had so many things going on in my head. I was like, okay, I need
mhm,
some kind of way to release these thoughts so I don't go crazy. So I started
mhm,
writing on LinkedIn. I talked about, my mental health struggle, dropping out of school and not really having a purpose. I talked about, my own struggle with figuring out my passions, figuring out where I want to take my career. So over time, it kind of snowballed into this thing where I became like this kind of mini creator that a lot of people knew about. And it was something that was not at all planned. Like it was totally random. I just woke up one day and it was like I would get
mhm.
consistent engagement. And so now I think almost a year later, I've had over 11 million views on my posts and I hit like 24K followers, which is amazing. And I'm like so grateful for that kind of exposure. And I want to make sure that I'm using that platform to advocate and amplify voices that I think are sometimes unheard. So if we're talking about career development, excuse me, career development for young professionals, specifically marginalized communities or things like mental health. So that's really
Hmm.
where the journey took me. And it got so big to a point where I was like, okay, I need to create a system to help marginalized communities, get more comfortable with their own careers, equip them with the right mindset and skill set. And that's where I founded the Cohort Collective, which is my coaching firm that's really meant to decentralize career development and create these accessible resources for my community. So that's kind of like the whole journey. And it really weirdly started in the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think first of all, I think the pandemic changed a lot of things,
Hmm.
and I'm very happy to hear that yours was for the positive, because I there's a lot of quotes, there's like sometimes you go in the world and then you see quotes and you don't fully relate, but then there's things that actually do, and I have this thing is like being lost in the right direction. So I'm glad that worked out for you, because sometimes you need some external force to come into your life and to disrupt everything for you to
Yeah, I think that's it. I
actually.
think that's it, man. Like the spontaneity was such a
Yes.
huge thing for me because I'm so type A. Like I'm such a planner. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what the next year is gonna look like. This is what 2024 is gonna look like. And then the pandemic totally screwed that up. And I was like, okay, I need to get comfortable with being spontaneous. And I think so much of my life,
Mhm.
like the best things that have happened have come from having this sense of spontaneity. So I think people even like in their own career development, students should accept that into their lives at some point because you never know what can come of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was talking with someone the other day about this, because what is a plan? A plan is just a strategy to get you where you want to get, but you
Mhm.
don't know what you you don't know what you want what you know. So
Yeah.
basically, it's your comfort zone is everything that you can aim to be, but you don't know past that point. So you should like try to break it and say like this is a strategy, but maybe tomorrow I'll find something else. So it's
Mhm.
like having a strategy, having a plan, but having the openness to welcome new things into your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
yeah.
think like to call it like spontaneity and planning like in one because I
Hmm.
have these goals, I know in how many ever years I want to be at this state, but I think it's good to give yourself spontaneity in which path you're gonna take. Like you might have this end goal, but don't
Hmm.
assume it's this one path. It could be any path to get to that end goal. So I think that kind of like planned spontaneity that works really well. At least it has for me, and it's something I can recommend for like every student, young professional, and really everyone out there that might need some kind of direction in their life.
Yeah, I think if I personally would have followed my plan, I would be a doctor now, and I
I'm
don't think I would be happy
wow.
just
Yeah.
because that's what everyone told me to be, and you
Uh-huh.
would probably be working in aerospatial,
Uh-huh.
so you would not be
Exactly.
helping. Yeah.
Exactly. Like so many different things can come if you just kind of like open yourself up to the possibility. And I think even more
Hmm.
importantly, follow your own expectations. I think that's something, at least for me being first gen, and I know a lot of people who are first gen, like immigrants, go through this. It's like, okay, I have to fulfill the expectations from my family, from my friends, from society. And it's this massive burden on our shoulders. So being able to acknowledge that, it's
Hmm.
you leading your own life and having that courage to like make decisions that are good for you, that actually realize your own potential and your own expectations, that I think is the catalyst to like really going for what you want in life.
Yeah. And I think going on that last point, I think sometimes you don't know what you want because you just
Mhm.
accept wherever path. And for you, like actually going to a different path led you to create content and to find a new career and to create a Cohort Collective, right?
Mhm.
So how was your journey like creating Cohort Collective? What was your motivation, and
Yeah.
what what is like something you teach people, and how do you see them changing? What's like the takeaways you get from there?
I love the stacked questions right here. Okay. So let's tackle the origin of the Cohort Collective. Now, I made a post on LinkedIn once, and this was a while ago. You may have seen it, but I talked about how unpaid internships need to die. And I talked
Yeah.
about my own experience and how I was basically this broke student paying to basically get experience so I can get a better paying job. And it was just this ridiculous system that's meant to take advantage of people like me who were so desperate to get experience. And that post in itself just completely blew up overnight. Like it got 2 million views, thousands of reactions and comments. And there were so many of these like minded young professionals who have been through the same kind of struggle. And I realized that there was an opportunity here to really like help this community. And I ended up hosting these free work sessions. So for that entire month of May, I believe it was the summer of 2021 in May, I just did free work sessions, and there were just hundreds and hundreds of students and young professionals like globally that came and watched me talk about, okay, these are your expectations. You know, this is how the hiring process works. This is how you can stand out as a candidate. This is how you optimize a resume. These are strategies to network. And so I found that there were common issues among this community. And I realized that I needed to create a system so that I could start tackling these issues. And that system became the Cohort Collective. So it was really catalyzed by this viral post. It just completely went viral overnight. And again, totally spontaneous. I didn't know I was going to do a coaching firm. It was not my plan to do it, but I saw the need for it. And I realized, okay, I can make a firm. I can implement my own experience, the struggles that I've been through to create a curriculum, create a support system so that future students don't have to go through the struggle that I did. So that's really what created the Cohort Collective. And at this point, we've had such a massive reach. Like we've impacted over 4,200 students across the world. We've onboarded dozens of cohorts. It's been incredible to see the change over time. And to answer your last question, like, what do I kind of teach them and what kind of change happens? I think the biggest thing is just confidence. Like you can teach them all the hard skills you want, but to watch them gain more confidence in their ability to take control of their own career path, I think that's the biggest thing. Because at the beginning, when these students join, you just see so much hesitancy. You see them like not believe in themselves, and you see them get beaten down by the way our current society just has this kind of broken hiring system. But once you start teaching them the right way to look at it, the right way to take advantage of this system, then they get so much confidence. And I love seeing that change in people, especially if they're still a student, because they have so much time now to keep developing that confidence. And that's going to take them so long and far in their lives.
Okay, so what did you say? I think I know what you're gonna say, because just as a final takeaway, you're like, what would you say makes them stand out? Besides, imagine you know all the rules, and then everyone knows all the rules, and there's no broken systems and everything. Like you can just apply to a job if you are qualified. Like we know all these inner things. Let's say
Yeah.
we are all in the same page. What makes someone stand out?
What makes someone stand out in our job market? Hey, that is a really
Hmm.
good question. And honestly, I would go back straight to what I said before. I would say it's that confidence, because I
Yeah.
think that seeps into everything. Your ability to sell yourself is directly related to your ability to have this confidence, because that is what a job search essentially is. It's being able to sell yourself in a piece of paper, on a resume. It's being able to sell yourself in an interview. And the better you can do that, the better chances you have to be a candidate that stands out. And I think someone who has confidence can sell themselves better. And so for me, that's why it was so wholesome to feel and see this growth in their confidence, because I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I've done my part to set you on the right path. And now I'm sure that you can take that confidence and kind of build it over time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that point because I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I've recently read a book called The Confidence Code. I don't know if you've read it.
Okay,
And
who's the author?
I don't recall.
Okay,
It's
I
not
can
like
see.
very known.
Yeah.
Was literally like my roommate had it in her room because they gave her to read for her work, for her job, and she was like, "Oh, I'm reading this one. Would you like to read this one?" And I was like, "Sure, another personal book, another personal development book. Let's go. Let me read it." But it's so interesting because
Mm.
it's all about confidence. Confidence. It talks a lot about women leadership as well, and it breaks confidence in like two pieces. So you have the part that can be inherited in a way, because it's in your genes, like depending how you were raised, all these like cultural and genetic changes. But
Mhm.
then you also have a part which you can impact. And a lot of it, I would just sum it up by saying that it's doing it and doing it and doing it again. It will give you the confidence and just showing up as your most confident self.
Yeah, I would say exactly like you said, it's a part nature and it's part nurture. Like I know some people who are inherently confident and I think it's in their blood, but someone like me, oh my God, I had to fake it for years. I was such an awkward, socially shy person. And that's actually because of the way I grew up. Like I moved constantly. Like I was telling you, I've lived like all across Canada, which basically meant I had no like framework, for sustaining friends. I would always move before I could actually make and maintain friends. So it made me this very shy, awkward person. And I literally had to fake confidence for a long time before it became like this natural thing. So yeah, I'd say honestly, if faking works, this is the one time I would say it works because it worked for me. I would say I'm proof of it.
Yeah, faking it till you're making it.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
works. Yeah. And like, do you have any kind of mentors that played a role in your life and help you with that, with your job strategy? Like,
Yeah,
which kind of impact?
there's so many. I think mentorship at its core is absolutely necessary. Like, I would not be here where I am today without people who have kind of gone through what I'm currently going through. And having that kind of mentor or almost like an idol in your life who can genuinely help you when you need it and not tell you what to do, but tell you what not to do in a way, that really helps. So I would say my mentors are in like multiple fields. There's definitely personal mentors that have shown me like how you can build trust, how you can build loyalty in relationships. Then there's
Hmm.
entrepreneurial mentors that have taught me, okay, this is how you can fundraise, this is how you network, this is how you create a pitch or a business plan. And then there's those career mentors that have taught
Hmm.
me what they've essentially gone through in their own career development, specifically mentors that are women in STEM or people of color, both of which apply to me, because we
Hmm.
go through a different path than my white male counterpart. I need people to tell me what they've gone through as a woman of color in STEM, and I think hearing that kind of journey really helps me kind of visualize what might be coming my way and how I can best prepare and how I can really go for what I want realistically. Because society has these impediments in my way, and I have to, acknowledge that. I have to figure out how to deal with it. And I think having a mentor by your side really helps in navigating that space.
Yeah, I really like what you said because you're like comparing yourself to people which you think are in some way like you, but they are more advanced in their career. And
Mhm.
there's like this similarity principle that we are more attracted to people that are like us in a way. So you try to relate, and even there's all these sales and negotiation techniques in which you try to repeat words or you try to like find common points, and this is your way to connect. So
Mhm.
in mentors, it's like you said, like I agree, and you should find people that are like in the same position, but you see them, you admire them, and you
Mhm.
see like, okay, I'm just a baby in this world, I'm just like swimming, finding my way through, but I see these people, and I'm like, this is possible. So how to
Exactly.
get there? And then you
Yeah.
ask,
Yeah, and
yeah.
the thing is, like, someone said this somewhere, I'm not sure who the originator was, but you become an average of the people around you. And I think that is so accurate. Like, I can tell you right now that you need to update or upgrade your circle. Like, be around people that you envision
Mhm.
yourself being in the future, or be around people that do things that you want to do, because you really do end up becoming an average of your circle. So that I think is so important to me in development, because I can tell like my circle right now completely different than my circle like 5 years ago, and I'm in a much better place now. I'm around people that are think like me and want to build things and are
Mhm.
comfortable talking about taboo topics. And I think it's been really incredible, like for my own personal growth as well.
Yeah, I think that for sure, like that's so important. And even the things you talk to, because if you are with people that you don't relate with or that you don't see yourself growing, you're also going to limit yourself to, I
Exactly.
mean,
It's like this.
the topics that you can talk about. Yeah. Yeah. So, and how would you go about finding those people? Because I think,
Yeah.
like, let's say I'm growing, I'm in high school, then I have friends from high school, then I go to college, and maybe I meet new people, but then our energy is so limited and our circles cannot like increase. You cannot have 5,000 friends because the amount
Mhm.
of energy you can give to each, it means that in the end you will have no friends. So, how do you go about prioritizing and like moving around people, so like, okay, this is my crowd, I'm growing, I need more different people.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really, really good question too. Matt, you're just nailing these questions right now. I love it. So, with what you said, I think for me personally, it's all about
Mhm,
quality. Like, I don't care about quantity at all. I only care about quality of the people. Like, are these people I can lean on? Are these people I can trust? So that is what I like to go through. And in terms of what you said, like how do I find these people? My answer might be like totally garbage here, but a lot of the mentors that I found have been completely by chance. Totally by,
mhm,
but the only reason I ended up finding these people is because I put myself out there. So if you want like one piece of advice, it's to put yourself out there. We live in a digital age. Use social media, make content. You never know who might reach out to you, who might be seeing what you're posting, because the most impactful mentors in my life, like the people that have really advocated for me and have almost like put me up on a pedestal so that I can like reach greater grounds. They've all come because I just put myself out on LinkedIn. They would connect with me or I would connect with them and we would get this conversation going, and it wasn't intentional, but that's the kind of relationship that ended up building. So to anyone that's looking for mentorship, I would say you have to have that kind of ability to put yourself online, start creating content, get some
mhm.
engagement and see where it goes.
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with you, and I relate so much with what you're saying because I'm also creating content. So it's like
Yeah.
you have a different kind of exposure. So people
Mhm.
find you, you reach out to people, they know you. But I know, as for what I see personally with my friends, with my relationships, that most people are not comfortable with that, you know?
Yeah,
So they see it as a very extreme thing. And I know what you're saying because we are kind of doing the same. So we're like, yeah, just create content, it's easy. But I
mhm,
also think you can do it the same, but in smaller scale, and you're going to see the impact. So, for
exactly.
example, yeah, when I was not like creating content, I was trying to create the strategy, and I was also just commenting and
Mhm.
commenting.
Yeah,
Just by itself,
it's
it's
there.
crazy. Like, it has an
Yeah,
amazing reach.
it gives you so much exposure too, right? Like when you leave a thoughtful comment, I feel like people notice it, people see it. And I think that's how I started too. Like I initially started by commenting on other people's posts, and then I eventually got comfortable enough with engagement that I could like create my own. So yeah, like
Hmm.
start in those baby steps. You don't have to go straight into like create being like a full-on content creator because it's nerve-wracking because it's almost like vulnerability in a sense because you're putting yourself online and it's like you're letting people judge you in a way. So overcoming that
Hmm.
kind of impediment, I feel like that takes a lot of time. Even I get anxious sometimes when I post something that might be really personal or might be a very controversial topic, a taboo topic like mental health, for example. I get worried sometimes because I'm like, okay, who's going to see this? How are they going to react? But I've gotten to a point where I've done it consistently so that I can actually rein in my own anxiety and I can post, I could be authentic and create like a conversation that I think needs to be had. So, yeah, start small, start by commenting, start by liking, and then work your way up.
Amazing. Written down all the tips.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, like there's another book. In case you are not like understand, like I love books, and there's some books that like light put some light in my brain. I'm like, whoa, that's it. And
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. And it's like I love how you like distance yourself from your anxiety and your fear to put yourself out there, and you still do it because you're helping people. And what
Mhm.
this book says is basically that the more exposure you have, the more people are going to see, and the more haters you're going to have, but
Uh-huh.
also the more people you're going to help.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. It's like
mm.
it's just a weird like curve on the graph. Like the greater your engagement, the greater your overall impact, and the more people
Mhm.
you can help. But those haters pile up. Like now I just get completely random messages just hating on me for things that I didn't even think you could hate on people for. And it used to really bother me, especially when it first started happening. I was like, oh man, this really sucks. And, like
Mhm.
over time, I've just built this almost not vulnerability to it, but built this like shield to it in a way where it
Mhm.
doesn't bother me as much anymore. Because I think at some point where you create content, you get to a point where you're like, I don't know this person. Like, why would their words have any hold on me? And once you
Yeah.
like realize that and you believe it, it's like, I don't care. I could say what I want that I think is advocating for the right message. And if you want to come at me for that, that's fine. I'm cool to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also that most people don't realize that you're a human being, behind your words and your
Yeah.
posts and your profile picture, you're actually a person that reads what they say. And if they
Mhm.
would know that, like, they would never say some things like in your face.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like
and
people still would. People, even if they were like, "Oh, this is just a girl that I'm, trying to break down." Even if they had that realization, I feel like
uh-huh,
some people at their core are trolls like that. That's like the definition of a troll. It's like it doesn't matter who you are. I just don't like you. I'm gonna do everything I can to put you down. I'm gonna do everything I can to bury you. And like I remember, I popped up on some Reddit threads that were totally
hmm
about hating on LinkedIn creators, and I popped up on a bunch of those, and it was so like hilarious to me in a way to read those because I was like, these people are taking time out of their days to hate on me, and it's like
uh-huh,
that's crazy to me. Like think about that. They don't know me at all, but they take time out of their days to create an entire thread about hating on me and my content. And it's kind of like that's the kind of like hate fueled rage that
uh-huh.
is completely like it doesn't affect me anymore because it's almost like, okay,
hmm
and like what's the end goal here, you know? So yeah, it's always gonna be there, but I think over time you're gonna start like creating this shield, this resistance, and it's not gonna bother you as much anymore. But having said that, I won't underrate it. It is a hard thing to go through to have people publicly hate on you. And
Yeah.
having that strength to like not engage, I think that was the hardest thing for me to develop. But I've gotten to a point where I'm good at it now. I give it an hour and then I pretty much forget about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like, I also have been on like one of my posts went viral and someone posted about it on Twitter, and I was
Yes.
like, I mean, if someone has so much time to create like such a post, I'm so sorry for that person. Like I'm sorry for the people in their lives. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be your friend. I'm like, okay, come on, that's a projection of what you are feeling inside, and
Exactly.
that's not for me.
Exactly. It has
So
nothing to do with us. It's about you and your own issues. And you know what? You're not my responsibility to fix. So you gotta like fix your own issues here. So yeah.
exactly. And I think you might get there more because your posts are very vulnerable. You're talking about yourself. So whoever gets wherever they want, it will be more personal to you because you're sharing.
Mhm.
And I know you talk a lot about hustle culture and about burning out, and it's
Yeah.
really important to talk about that. So my next
Yes.
question, this is
Sure.
like this all yeah, like tell me about it. Like, tell me what's like. So you have success, you have happiness. I think somehow they could be like a Venn diagram, but how would you define both, and how do you find the balance? How do you personally find the balance
Yeah.
to do everything you're doing? Mm.
I am not the authority on balance because I'm very bad at balancing myself. Now, I think because I'm so bad at it that since I have this platform on LinkedIn, I should advocate for a balance and I should
Mhm.
share my journey like, guys, I'm struggling right now. I'm an ambitious person. I have my coaching firm. I want to build my own life. I want to build my own thing, make an impact. I'm also into, protecting our planet and I'm developing sustainable technology. It gets a lot sometimes. And I
Mhm.
think it's not about knowing the right answer about what a balance is, but it's about sharing my own journey about when I'm tipping myself on one side or the other. Am I burning out? Am I not being productive? So if I share that journey, I think that's a lot more helpful for people because they can resonate with that. I think we're all struggling with the same exact thing. And I talk about burnout a lot because I get burnt out a lot and I know how painful that is. And it takes a long time to recover from it, at which point you're even more stressed out because there's this period where you can't do anything because you're totally burnt out. And then when you can do something and you're recovered, and it's like all of this stress comes back. So I think for me, it's more about sharing that journey about tipping on one side or the other and what I'm trying to do to maintain a balance. So I don't have the answer on what a balance should be. I think that looks different for everybody depending on what your tolerance is and what your ambitions are, what rest means to you, what healthcare, mental health care means to you, what self-care means to you. But for me, it's about trying to share that journey on how I tip and what I try to do to not tip.
Okay, so that's really, I think that's really important because you are able to share and to define your own boundaries and say like, okay, running out, let's go back, let's do something different. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a self journey in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing I try to say because I know I do a lot of burnout posts and that's what I always try to say. I always do it probably like a week after I burn out. I'm like, okay, I've burnt out. I need to make a post so I can kind of, take responsibility almost. And it's for me, it's almost like a way to overcome it. Like I'm acknowledging that I screwed up and I wasn't balanced enough in my day. So I make a post about it to advocate for it and like remind myself like, okay, now I need to recollect, I need to balance, and helping,
Yeah.
post this and publish the content not only helps me bring a balance to my own life, but I think that message gets to so many eyes of people who might need to hear that message. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people need to hear that.
Mhm.
Probably everyone. I'm gonna say 99.999% of people need
For
to hear that.
sure. Yeah, especially if they're on LinkedIn. I feel like people who are active on LinkedIn, they're always doing something. So if you're active on that platform, I'm like, okay, chill sometimes.
This is for you. Go watch Squid Game. Go like read a book.
How good was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I was, it was really good, but I was traumatized. I'm very
Oh,
sensitive to like
really?
things
Mm.
like this. I'm like, oh my god, my head's like, oh my god, life is a game and we are all just playing. So
Yeah.
how would it work? It's
And
really
then
interesting. So
Mr.
good.
Mr. Beast did basically his own version of Squid Game, and I feel so
Oh
good about that because I'm like, oh, it's so cool. If you haven't seen it,
no,
production
no.
quality is insane. It's literally the same as the Squid Game. Like I recommend watching it just to watch the production quality because it must be so expensive just to make that video. And I know we're off topic, but I have to
This
talk
is
about
important, guys. That's how you not burn
it.
out when you're like about to go watch Squid Game, go watch Mr. Beast.
Exactly. It's insane. But yeah, honestly, like watch Netflix
Mhm.
sometimes, go
Yep.
base, go take a nap. Don't feel
Mhm.
guilty about doing that. And every time I post about just taking a break, there's at least one
Mhm.
person who's like, well, I delete emails. I don't watch LinkedIn or I don't watch Netflix. And I'm like, okay, cool. What does that have to do with anything? But yeah, there's always gonna be haters out there that are like,
Mhm.
"Why take a break when you could do your emails on Saturday?" Or, "Why pay $15
Mm.
when you can save that money and pay off your debt?" And I'm like, "Okay, you're missing the point here. Like, you're entitled to that opinion, but I think people should just do what they need to do to recover if they're in a
Mhm.
spot where they need to rest." Yeah.
Exactly. And I think there's like two different kinds of people because obviously you have to pick a niche and the kind of people that you want to help. You cannot be helping everyone. But
Yeah.
there's people that maybe they procrastinate too much and they need like a higher incentive to work. But we are talking about people that are just immersed into this hustle culture and they think they should be
Yeah.
doing something all the time. And I suffer from that, at least in theory. And one thing that helps me is doing what you're saying, but plan it. I mean, I plan rest time. I'm like, on Sunday, my computer won't be open. Like,
Yeah.
but I put it, it's like me time. It's me time to read. If I don't schedule like Netflix time, I'm like, it's rest time. It's
Yeah.
off. I need to turn off. So different strategies for different people, but
Mm.
in the end, it's like this. You can work, you can be productive, you can get your goals, your dreams, your most ambitious goals but you still need to be a person, and you
Mhm.
won't get there if you just burn out completely and you are not able to, like, interact and to be okay. So
Like,
yeah.
function, yeah. Because I remember I would get so foggy sometimes, and I would make, like, the weirdest decisions, and that's when I know, like, at least for me, that's my line. I'm like, "Okay, if I get to a point where I'm foggy and I can't make the right decisions even, I gotta take a step
Mhm.
back, just rest, take a bath or something." I feel like for me, I do something really similar to what you said. We call it time boxing. So basically,
Yes.
having set times to do X, Y, Z, and when it's done,
Mhm.
it's done. Like, shut your brain off, stop doing that thing, go on to the next thing, even if that's doing nothing, like a rest day or whatever. So, yeah, it really helps to have that kind of, I think, ethics in a way to be able to follow
Mhm.
that schedule. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, I have one last question for you.
Let's go for it.
I'm curious to know what you're gonna say.
Okay.
So let's say now you have all the powers in the world, and
Okay.
you can make everyone follow one rule. They know it all the time. They need to follow that rule. What would the rule be?
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're giving me authoritarian power here.
You can do
Ooh.
anything. You're like the genius. No, you're like God. You're like whatever.
Yes.
You're like the supreme force, whatever
Ooh,
anyone believes in.
interesting. If I had that power and I could make people do one thing, what would it be? Honestly, this is something that I personally live by, and I think if everyone followed it, it would just make society better as a whole, and I think it would make every individual in that society better as a whole. But it's to be the person you needed when you were younger. Like, I feel like
Mm.
if we all just did that, then problems wouldn't persist. Because if we went through that problem and we acknowledged it and we helped the next generation so that they could circumvent that problem, it would over time help our society, not just our society, but our systems become better. Like our culture and our systems, meaning like, systemic oppression can be dismantled, our hiring process system, like our political system. Like, if we're just being the person we needed when we were little, all of these things would slowly, slowly start getting better over time. So that would probably be it. Just be the person you needed when you were smaller. And that's kind of my philosophy that I follow with the Cohort Collective. It's like I wish I had me when I was going through that job search process because it's so confusing and stressful. So I feel like that's a pretty good philosophy to follow in general. I would make every human follow that if I could.
Yeah, I love that. I think
Yeah.
for me, I see mini Mariana and I'm like, okay, I know what you need, so let me try to be. I see you being that person, and I hope more people do that. And I think that is aligned. And I think you said that in the beginning, like I found my why. I found where I want to do, want to help people. So it's like you
Yeah.
found your why, and now you're being the person that young Faria wanted or needed it in her life.
Yes,
So I
exactly.
think it's all connected. So yeah, I
Yes.
love that.
Well,
Let's
mini
all
me,
follow that rule.
I feel like, so that feels good to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you so much for being here, for having this
Yeah,
conversation with me. I'm
thank you
sure
for
like everyone can, yeah.
yeah, honestly, it was awesome. I think your questions were like so cool too. So thanks for like going through the deep, hard questions. So yeah, you had to make me think today, and that was pretty fun.
It's always not, sometimes it's nice to think, sometimes not so much. So I'm glad you are in the thinking mood because with me, like if you're gonna, we have gonna have more conversations, usually it goes and it's flowing because
Hmm.
you're asking the questions or you're putting like yourself in the place to be asked those questions. So,
Yeah,
so cool.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. A really, really awesome conversation. I hope anyone who is listening definitely gets a lot of value from it too.
I'm pretty sure. So thank you, and keep on like doing what you're doing, helping so many people. And yeah, try not to freeze in Canada, and enjoy.
Yeah. Next time you come for vacation here, don't come in the winter. So, yeah,
No, no, I'm going on summer for sure.
yeah, yeah, sounds good. All right.
Cool.
Thanks, Mariana. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you.